All roads lead to Rome. The Roman Empire was built on three pillars: taxes, legions, and infrastructure of their wonderful roads. You see, in order for the legions to collect the taxes from every corner of the empire, they had to have wonderful highways. Long before our Highway 44 or 55 was standing or crumbling as it is now, Roman highways were used by legionaries, by diplomats, by politicians to travel anywhere from the Middle East all the way to France and Spain. The empire was vast, and so was the network of roads, and they all led to the center of the empire in the ancient city of Rome. Well, something similar can be said about all the highways around St. Louis. They all lead to St. Louis, and in your case, they all lead to St. Stanislaus. Some of you take Highway 55, others take Highway 44, the others take Highway 40, which I call 64. I still don't know why you call it 40. It's 64, it says so on the sign. And some of you don't take highways at all. You take Jefferson or some other street coming to St. Stanislaus. But whatever highway you take, you end up here, weekend after weekend. Thank goodness with no legions following you, but you come here to pray, to experience God's presence, God's love, and to experience company, fellowship with other like-minded people. I don't care which highway you take on your way to church. I have no preference for Highway 44 or 55 or 64 or 170 or 270 or 255. Whether you come from the east or west, north or south, I am super happy to have you here. At the end of the day, the road you took to church doesn't matter. The fact that you came here does. And the same can be said about our process of discovering God. Some of us have been on Highway 270, driving around and around for 5 or 10 or 20 years before we decide to take an exit and come to God eventually. Some of us have had it easy. We never left God or church, and we had a short Jefferson Avenue every Sunday to church. Some of us come short distance. Some of you I know come a long, long way to St. Stanislaus every weekend. And yet we discover God in different ways, but we discover God in this community that embraces all your highways, all your roads, all the paths that you have taken so far. When the wise men, or let's be gender inclusive, wise persons left the audience with Herod, they had very mixed feelings about that guy. For he appeared to be kind and polite. He told them where the newborn king is to be born in Bethlehem, but then he had a favor to ask of them. By the way, when you meet him, come back and tell me where he is, so I too can go and pay him homage. It didn't sit right with them. Something smelled fishy about that favor. So the gospel tells us today that having paid homage to Jesus, having given him the gifts, they returned home by another way. They took different highway going back home. They came on Highway 64 but left on Highway 44. At the end of the day, what mattered is that they did get home. But they did take another highway in order not to be accomplices in the evil deeds of King Herod. It was almost a social disobedience act. They said, "No, thank you, we will not do this favor for you. We will find another way to get where we want to be." For many centuries, the Catholic Church, our popes and bishops, have told us there is only one way to believe in God. There is only one way to talk about God. There is only one way to be a Christian. And if you are not on that one narrow path, you are anathema, abomination, excommunication, off with your head, or where are the matches for the stake? There was no other ways. There was one holy Roman Church, and everyone else was wrong. But in our pride, in our spiritual arrogance, we have forgotten that there are many ways to get to God. And when I say we, I don't want to single out Catholics only, because many Protestants were not better than us. Orthodox Christians were not better than us. There is something about spiritual pride that makes you think that my way is the only way. That to get to St. Stanislaus, you have to take Highway 64. If you don't, you are doing something wrong. And we all suffer consequences of this spiritual pride and arrogance, because we have lost so much richness of religious and spiritual experience. For centuries, we believed that there exists but one way. For centuries, we were told that Highway 55 and 70 are for bad kids. And we never tried different roads or different highways to experience God, to talk about God, and to be a believer. One of my favorite spiritual writers is Father Anthony de Mello, a Jesuit born in India. He was a Zen master and a Catholic priest at the same time. He found ways to combine his Hindu heritage, Zen meditation, and very fervent faith in God, in Jesus the Christ. As he shared his blessings and insights with others, he quoted a Hindu saying about an elephant. He said, "We can compare God to an elephant. And if you ask 3 different animals about who an elephant is, they will give you 3 different answers. If you ask an ant, who is an elephant, a little tiny ant will say, an elephant is like a big mountain that you have to run away because it can crush you. If you ask an eagle, who is an elephant, an eagle will tell you, from my perspective, when I soar high above the clouds, there is no difference between elephant and turtle. They all look the same to me. But when you ask an elephant's wife what this elephant is, the elephant's wife will tell you, and this elephant is very kind, loving, and stubborn elephant. Each one of these answers was true. Each one of these ways of talking about elephant is correct and very, very true. For the tiny ant, an elephant is a huge mountain. For an eagle, an elephant is just a dot on the ground. And for the elephant's wife, it's a loving but stubborn husband. When we talk about God, when we speak about our experiences of religion and spirituality, we use the language and the images that we are familiar because of our experience. Sometimes we are soaring like the eagle, sometimes we are crawling on the ground like an ant. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. As long as you know that elephant, as long as you have experienced elephant, this experience is what counts. Again, all roads lead to Rome. All highways lead to St. Stanislaus. And all paths lead to one elephant. Don't be afraid to take another way home when it's necessary. Amen.